Hello, my friends. Today, the occupiers are showing maximum persistence and their offensive actions are increasing across the entire front line. In the Pokrovsk direction, the situation is, to put it mildly, critical. So, today, let's start right away with this direction. Due to the Russian success in partially capturing of Novooleksandrivka, their attacks are now targeting Vozdvyzhenka. This is the last village on the way to very important route Pokrovsk-Kostiantynivka. Today, battles are already taking place 5.5 kilometers from the route. Moreover, it's now practically under fire, and the occupiers have struck the village of Novooleksandrivka, which is located right next to the route. At the same time, attempts to completely capture Novooleksandrivka and Karlivka have been reported, but that's not all. The occupiers are deploying a large number of reserves to capture Yevhenivka, the village of Sokil, and are also making breakthroughs from Novopokrovsk. All these villages are under heavy shelling, making the situation extremely difficult. The occupiers are trying to advance in this direction at any cost. Further south, in Karlivka, battles have also been reported. And according to the latest unofficial reports from the Ukrainian forces, the occupiers have already taken control of almost half of the village. And it seems that there were no major battles here. The occupiers managed to advance here within a few weeks, which indicates that there were no strong defensive lines. So we are waiting to see how events will unfold further. In the past day, the occupiers have conducted 48 assaults. This is the same level of activity that was seen during the capture of Avdiivka. And today, the Ukrainian forces say that the most intense battles was precisely for Avdiivka. It seems that the Russians are now trying to replicate the same tactics. Additionally, in Vietnam, Putin has openly talked about the use of low-yield tactical nuclear weapons.
И связано это вот с чем. Это связано с тем, что появляются новые, и во всяком случае мы знаем, что вероятный противник над этим работает, новые элементы, связанные с понижением применения ядерного оружия, с понижением порога применения. В частности, разрабатываются взрывные ядерные устройства сверхмалой мощности, и мы знаем, что в экспертных кругах на Западе витают идеи о том, что вот такие средства поражения можно было бы применять, и ничего в этом особенно страшного нет. Страшного, может быть, и нет, но на это мы обязаны обратить внимание. И мы обращаем на это внимание. С этим и связано мое заявление о том, что мы думаем о возможных изменениях в наших стратегиях. Примитивно нам пока не нужен, потому что в ответ на встречном ударе противник будет гарантированно уничтожен.
Russian war correspondents are also already writing that the use of tactical nuclear weapons is most likely being planned. Let's read. Russia is thinking about possible changes in its nuclear doctrine, Putin said. Probably there will be changes in the rules for the use of tactical nuclear weapons, which will allow nuclear strikes on the enemy without the need for the existence of a threat to the Russian Federation. Well, we've been heading towards this for a long time. The current situation in the special military operation doesn't give us the ability to force Ukraine to capitulate using only conventional weapons. The only thing that can save the situation is mobilization, but it's not popular among Russians. And will a nuclear strike on Ukraine be popular? That's a big question. No one in the world wants a nuclear war, and what will happen to Russia after our nuclear strike on Ukraine is impossible to predict. But there is one very bad version. Russia will face no consequences if the strikes are localized only near the front line, with effects reaching just a few dozen kilometers. NATO countries will clearly not strike Russian Federation, as this would definitely trigger a world war, and no one wants that. Friends, if you have another version, you can write it in the comments. In the direction of Kurakhove, the occupiers today ceased their attacks in Krasnohorivka, but there are renewed attempts to break through to Georgivka. Attacks are ongoing near the village of Победа, and they are storming Paraskoviivka. Fierce fighting is taking place directly in the village, and the situation is extremely difficult. In the past 24 hours, 13 assaults were carried out, but the frontline has managed to hold without any changes. In the Vuhledar direction, the activity has decreased today. The occupiers carried out several attacks near Vodane, but otherwise the situation has stabilized and there are no changes along the front line. In the Zaporizhia direction, the occupiers are not reducing their activity near Mala Tokmachka. They conduct several assaults daily, but despite these efforts, they haven't achieved any success and the front line remains unchanged. In the Kherson direction, the occupiers are also periodically conducting attacks on the village of Krinky, and shelling of the right bank continues unabated. However, there are no changes along the front line, but meanwhile in Crimea, there was another drone attack last night. Now let's turn to the Chasiv Yar direction, where the situation remains extremely challenging. Reports indicate that the Ukrainian forces have dispatched additional reserves to this area. To bolster the defense of Chasiv Yar, the 24th Brigade, named after King Danilo, has been sent. The brigade states that the situation in and around the city is extraordinarily difficult, with casualties reported. The Russians are attempting to encircle the city from the north and south. Over the past 24 hours, the occupiers have increased the number of attacks, storming the outskirts of Chasiv Yar and trying to secure a foothold in the Novy micro-district. Intense battles are also taking place near Karlivka, and there are ongoing attempts to fully capture Ivanivska, Klishchiivka, and Andriivka. Shelling continues at a maximum intensity, and it's clear that the Russians are determined to capture Chasiv Yar at any cost. However, there have been no significant changes along the front line so far, and the Ukrainian forces are making every effort to maintain their defense. In the Toretsk direction, the occupiers continue to attempt breakthroughs. Currently, fighting is ongoing for Oleksandropol, but there have been no changes along the front line either, and the occupiers are trying to show increased activity in this area to tie down our forces. In the Siversk direction, attacks on Vozdvyzhenka continue, while all assaults near Verkhnyo-Kamensk have ceased. The Russian forces haven't achieved any success in this area, and the front line remains unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Kremina direction, the occupiers continue their assaults on Nevsky and Tarny and Ukrainian positions in the forest near Kremina. Despite these ongoing efforts, there are no changes recorded, and the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Svatove direction, the occupiers continue their assaults on Stelmachivka, and fighting is again reported near Novooleksandrivka. The Ukrainian forces are conducting counterattacks to push the Russians back and prevent them from breaking through to the river. But the front line remains unchanged for now, and further south, offensive actions are being conducted towards Kharkivka, where the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling the Russians on the fields, and there are no changes in the front line. The situation in the Kupiansk direction has become more complicated. In addition to the ongoing assaults on Sinkivka, the occupiers have increased the number of attacks in the area of Pishane and also Stepova Novoselivka. Both direct assaults on these villages and attempts by some groups to break through further across the fields have been recorded. Fighting continues for control over Pishane, where the Russians are attempting to extend the front line towards Kruglyachivka. However, they haven't been successful so far, and the battles remain intense, but we will wait to see how events unfold. In the Kharkiv direction, the occupiers have intensified their shelling of the village of Liptsi. The Russians have now started using FAB 3000 bombs. Recently, Ukrainian experts had stated that the Russians possess these bombs and are ramping up their production, but they supposedly had no means to deploy them. However, as you can see, they have already started using these bombs, which is very concerning for the situation at the front. These bombs are capable of destroying any fortified areas, and only aviation can remedy this situation. The occupiers are also conducting attacks on the village of Liptsi and attempting to break through across the fields. In Vovchansk, the fighting continues unabated. The occupiers have again brought in reinforcements and are conducting offensive actions, trying to gain control over at least the northern part of the town. Additionally, battles have been reported in the area around the village of Tikhe. The situation here remains unstable with daily skirmishes. Meanwhile, Putin commented on the possible involvement of North Korean soldiers in the Ukrainian conflict.
Первое. Дальше. По поводу поводов оказания взаимной военной помощи. Там же написано, в случае агрессии, военной агрессии. Теперь, что касается Украины. Украинский режим начал агрессию, но не против России. Он начал агрессию еще против признанных нами Луганской и Донецкой народных республик до того, как они входили в состав Российской Федерации.
As you can see, Putin continues to pretend that they are managing on their own. Moreover, Putin has started threatening that their weapons could end up in other countries, potentially sparking new conflicts.
Дополнительного исследования, но это близко к тому, мы это анализируем. Ведь о чем идет речь в данном случае, что вот те, кто поставляет это оружие, считают, что они с нами не воюют. Ну, я вот и сказал, в том числе и в Пхеньяне, что мы тогда оставляем за собой право поставлять оружие в другие регионы мира. Имея в виду наши договоренности с Корейской Народно-Демократической Республикой, я и этого не исключаю. И куда они попадут дальше, это мы тоже ведь можем сказать таким же образом. Вот западники поставляют оружие Украине и говорят, а мы здесь дальше ничего не контролируем, и неважно, как они применяются. Ну и мы также можем сказать, вот мы поставили кому-нибудь что-нибудь, и дальше мы ничего не контролируем. И пускай они думают на эту тему. Так что на данном этапе для нас важнейшая задача отражать это.
Meanwhile, due to Putin signing a close cooperation agreement with North Korea, South Korea, according to preliminary information, plans to reconsider its assistance to Ukraine. However, upon arriving in Vietnam, Putin already learned about this and immediately publicly threatened South Korea.
В зону боевых действий на Украину, то это было бы очень большой ошибкой. Надеюсь, что этого не произойдет. Если это будет происходить, то тогда и мы тоже будем принимать соответствующие решения, которые вряд ли понравятся сегодняшнему руководству Южной Кореи.
In addition, Putin continues to talk about possible negotiations, but insists that there will be no withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukrainian territory.
Ну, я вообще не люблю комментировать чьи бы то ни было высказывания, тем более вторых или третьих лиц. Но в данном случае все-таки не могу удержаться и не сказать, что если ведение переговоров связывается с выводом наших войск, о чем мечтает киевский режим, то, судя по всему, этого никогда и не случится. Потому что киевский режим не хочет уходить от власти и не хочет проводить нормальных выборов в соответствии с Конституцией Украины. То есть они будут вечно тянуть с прекращением огня, и они заинтересованы в том, чтобы наши войска оставались на этих территориях, потому что не заинтересованы в проведении выборов. Вот и все.
Okay, friends, what do you think about this? Please share your thoughts in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and of course hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.